Welcome to Spiritual Talk with Christy, Godwin, and Friends, an authentic podcast where we sit and discuss all things spiritual. Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome to my podcast, Spiritual Talk with Christy, Godwin, and Friends. I have my wonderful friend here, Dawn Ricci. Thank you so much for being here, Dawn.
Oh, thanks, hon. I'm so glad to be here for you.
I have known Dawn for a while, so I'm so excited to have her on here. Dawn is, I can't say enough about her. Let me see, how many titles can I squeeze in, Dawn?
How many
She
titles?
is a certified spiritual advisor, a certified forensic psychic medium. She is just, I love her. She is always learning. She's always about the ethics of it, just always charging forward. I can't say enough great things about her. Thank you, Dawn.
Oh my God, thank you.
Real quick, I will tell everyone where they can find Dawn, but don't worry about writing it down. I will have it in the verbiage, whether you see this on my YouTube channel or on the podcast. If you just look in the verbiage, you can find her, but you can find her dawnricci.com, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, all under Dawn Ricci Psychic Medium. And then you can email her hello@dawnricci.com.
Great.
Now, tell us a little bit, Dawn, about your background. How'd you get started in this?
So, oh my God. So yes, I wear too many freaking hats.
She really does. I love
Oh my
it,
God,
though.
too many hats. But I started in as a private investigator over 30 years ago with my husband, Tony. And my husband had this mom and pop detective agency that his father had started. But when we met, we built it to this national company that it is today. And I'm going to give a shameless plug. It's called All State Investigations. So in our detective agency, we specialized in matrimonial matters, child custody, alimony, and anything that had to do with family. So my husband and I had also appeared on many television shows, and we've had 2 reality shows. And the reason why I'm going to talk about this is that's my lead-in into being a psychic medium. So one of those shows was called The Messenger, and another one was Web of Deceit on TLC. And I was like so excited to be signed on with TLC, and honest to God, not for the show, but for the possibility to meet the medium, Long Island medium, Teresa Caputo, because I knew at that time I was a psychic medium. I knew things happening. I was a really good investigator because I could see what things were going to happen, how it would unfold. I could automatically and naturally be a remote viewer. So I dabbled in the woo-woo world for so many years. So when I got that opportunity, I was so excited to try to meet her. Wah, wah. Sorry, it didn't happen. I didn't end up meeting her. I know. But it did just make me more enthusiastic to become and to learn this industry now, and just open myself up to become the intuitive that I am. And that is actually what made me a really good investigator.
You know, and I want to circle back to what Dawn had said about, you know, you can just tell she has such a beautiful natural ability. And I met her in classes. And so I think Dawn and I are always going to be perpetual students of this. I mean, do you feel like you could just take classes forever and always learn something new?
Yeah, well, isn't that part of the journey? We always,
Absolutely.
you always have to learn. You never think that you know everything. Not in
Yeah,
this. Yeah.
Yeah. So what we're going to talk about today for everyone watching is, for all the classes we've taken, we're going to focus on the forensic psychic class we took. Now, this was a very intensive class. It lasted, gosh, was it 10 months?
Oh my gosh, yes, it was 10 months.
If not long, it was a lot, because we had homework assignments, constant practicing, and then you had to test. I mean, people laugh when I say certified. No, we had to test. You had to be a certain amount accurate to pass.
Yes. It was not easy. In fact, we were accountability partners, and oh my gosh, I had so much going on during that time that I would always rely on Christy to tell me certain things, like, all right, when's the class? Oh my gosh, I lost my dates. And
It was a lot to
Yeah.
keep up with.
It was
Now,
a lot to keep up with. Yeah.
for people watching it or listening, it is a very different when you just come and you want a psychic reading from Dawn or I. That's just basic. Where do you see my job going? You know, would you see me selling the house? You see just now, but when you're talking a crime being committed, you have to tread very carefully. Would you agree, Dawn?
Absolutely. You have to have certain elements of an investigation to unfold before you even tell your client.
Yes, absolutely. And also just how Dawn and I'm not saying that we are going to put our ethics on everyone, but how we believe, because it's how we're taught and we're certified, is you can't, it's unethical to just call someone. Like if someone has lost a family member, unfortunately, to a crime, or a crime has been committed, or someone is missing, it's unethical to just call them and start offering information. You have to wait to be approached.
Yes. Yeah. It's not even that. You don't even understand, as another psychic medium that makes those phone calls and on the tip line and all that, the family listens to all that. And, you know, you're coming up with, you know, random stuff you know, that's unwanted or not ready for them to hear. And you don't even know if you're tapping into the right thing.
Yes.
You're putting more damage. Number one, you're putting in more
Absolutely.
damage onto them and onto the case than you could even realize. That information in unsolicited fashion is not good.
Absolutely.
No one wants it.
No, it is more harm than you're doing good. So the first step for us, if we are working a forensic case, is to do a reading for the family. After we were approached, to then connect with someone in the family so they can verify who we have, who is stepping up from the other side, giving evidential information. That has to be verified. You don't just randomly start and usually, you know, in my instance, and I'm sure in Dawn's, these cases are not a wham, bam, and done.
No.
It's not like one reading and we're done.
No.
Because it's one reading and then more information unfolds and more information. So it just is a slower process. I have had cases where personally, I just happened to have some information. Someone came and it was one reading, but that's not typical. Typically it's several.
Yeah, no. In fact, I kind of treat them like as I did with my regular clients and my investigations company. I would, because I love working for the underdog. I really do. And I really, really want to help people.
She really does. She does.
I really love like working for the underdog.
Yes.
But I especially like, you know, for them to trust us, and this is even more, you know, it's harder for me because before I was pulling stuff, before I was giving factual information, like this is the facts, Jack. And then now I've got pulling stuff out of the spirit world. So for me, I have to take my time about it. So what I do is I would take an intake with the client and, you know, without them polluting my mind, I will take down out of the 20 things that they actually say, maybe 6 of them are relevant to what I need to go forward. And then I have to tune out everything. And so a lot of times a client's notes for a forensics case is really just 30 minutes long. And it's a hard stop at 30 because they'll go on forever. And I feel bad because I really want to tell you all the nitty gritty, but then you're going to get sucked into their theories.
Yes.
And yes. And so then once you get sucked into their theories in your mind, you're not going to be able to, you know, you're not going to be able to erase that no matter how much you try. It just doesn't work.
Yes. In our class, we would call that developing Hollywood drama.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you get a couple of pieces of information, and this is the thing that you have to watch out for. At least I felt when doing these. You get a couple of pieces of information, you stick to the information that you have gotten instead of trying to connect the dots between it. The dots will come, but whenever you're reading someone from spirit and you're getting information dropped in, you want to create this Hollywood drama. You want to create the story behind it. And that's when you can you have to be careful of just giving the facts, give what you get.
Right. And it may mean nothing to you. And I use this example a lot. If I go, like, say, I'll get, like, say, it has red shoelaces. There's red shoelaces. Okay. I don't know anybody that has red shoelaces,
Right.
and I don't even know if people wear red shoelaces, but that victim told me, or the higher guides from the victim, because a lot of times I don't talk to the victim because sometimes they don't tell the truth. I have to go up higher and come back down. But that piece of information may mean nothing to the mother or the father or anything else, but it may mean something to law enforcement,
Absolutely.
because they might say, oh, that guy that we have on the suspect list, didn't you notice his shoes when he was in here when we questioned him? He has red shoelaces.
Yeah.
So that may have meant nothing to the mother and father, but you got that, you write it down.
Yes. That had happened. Was reading a lady, and she was not coming to me for a forensic case. I was just reading her, but it quickly turned into that. And her son had stepped up, and he had his life taken by someone else, and they had not yet found the body.
Wow.
And so he was showing me, and spirit will use synchronicities also. So he was showing me kind of where he was. And there was something in this area that was very distinct. His sister had a dream a few days before where she had that same object that I was seeing, that he was showing me, in her dream.
Uh-huh.
And so then whenever this mom went back to the police, they had mapped out like a huge area to search. They felt like that's where his body was in that area, and it allowed them to kind of hone in on a smaller area because of the one object that her son would pass on me, if that makes sense. I'm trying to not drop down any hints because we cannot talk about cases, that we've worked on. So I'm trying to make sure that I don't give any hints of what was actually had happened in the evidence that was given.
But so when now with police and law enforcement, and it's hard, like when you see something on the news. Oh, I have another good story too. When you do see something on the news, and just that first line story, and I see, that they're looking for someone, or, whatever it should be, you get a hit. It really is hard for me.
Yes.
And sometimes now I do write it down. So I don't forget it, because one of the things I've learned is that since I've been doing this work, I'm not going to say it's age that makes me forget, but it's one of these things while I'm doing this work, that spirit just like puts things into my brain and then just goes right out. And so I won't remember all the logistics or everything, all the little nuggets of information. One of the other things I do use, and we did, this was how we learned it in class too, is that I use Post-it notes, and I'll take the subject picture, the subject or the victim picture, and I will do the Post-it notes around it. I'll hang it on a wall, and I'll do the Post-it notes around it with little tidbits of information that may, mean something. And I'll go back and I'll go for it, and then I'll leave it alone for an hour or so, and then I'll go back and see how it resonates with me. I'll change things up a bit, or maybe I'll dig deeper into something else. And hopefully I've got the unfold of a good outline, or, nuggets of story that I can give the family to say, okay, here's what I've got. Absolutely. And here's what I see. And then they can do as they may with it.
Absolutely. And Dawn, it was so spot on with that. I absolutely love it, because you have to sit with these for a little while sometimes. And I do a lot of my readings in my home office. And so between readings, I will just be, I'll go do something to decompress, and then something will drop in. You might be about to head into a different reading, but then something, you'll look at the picture on the wall and something will drop in, and you have to write it down right then so you don't miss it.
Yeah. I've
There was
learned that. I've learned that because I'd go like, what did I just like? What was it?
exactly. And
You
you know,
know?
that's why doing the training is so important, because you
Yeah.
want to do no harm, only good.
Mhm.
And there's certain little tidbits of information, like Dawn was just saying, how you can use those sticky notes and write things down as they come. And sometimes I would just have them all over the place. But then as you're looking at them, they will almost morph into like a timeline as you're looking at them. In your head, you'll see them dropping into a timeline. So then you're taking these sticky notes and moving them into a timeline.
So I have a really good tip.
Yes.
So, you know, like the dead and alive thing, because that's the first thing when you like, you know, you
Oh, yes,
you
yes, yes.
turn the paper over and you're like, ooh, dead or alive. Okay. So I take a red ball and I throw it to the person. Like I'll like I'll throw it.
The
And if
person in
they,
spirit.
yeah, the person,
Yeah,
the spirit. And so if they are dead, they drop it. If they're alive, they catch it.
I love that.
You know, right? I learned that. Yeah, isn't that cool? I like that one too. And then also too, that really works well for me. And then the other one too is obviously I look at pictures all the time, even from the detective agency, but looking into someone's eyes, if you really, you know, take the moment and just breathe and then sink into their eyes, you probably will get that hit and you'll get more of what that uh crime might have been, what you could have seen. That's how I get it.
Mhm.
Or, you know, the remote viewing of what was in the surroundings of it, you know.
And I am not afraid when someone comes to me with a case to then meet with some other psychic mediums, because everyone gets
Right.
different drop-ins. You know, I might be seeing, you know, I don't know, a shed. Well, Dawn might say, yeah, but next to that shed is a pine tree or whatever it is.
Yeah, yeah.
And so because there is power, so if someone comes to me with a case and it is something that's more intricate, absolutely, I'll call in my friends and we'll get together and like, what are you seeing? What are you feeling? Because when you get drop-ins from other people, it really helps.
But I actually think, and I love working in teams because I actually think
Yes.
that it's actually we all connect.
Yes.
Like, you know, it's like we all connect and it makes it stronger
It does.
to really see the whole I hate I using the word story really loosely, but the whole story, for lack of a better word. And then
Yeah.
so like some of us, like if you put a team together, like I, you know, I have my peoples that I will, you know, my other team that I like, but if you put a whole team together, someone may be better with a pendulum, somebody may be better using a map, you know, someone may be good using numbers, other person like me, like a remote viewer, you know, someone's talking to the victim, but sometimes the victim's not being truthful to them, but yet to someone else. The victim may not feel comfortable talking to one other
Yes.
person.
Yes. Yeah.
They
I
have
do
to be
like
a relationship to them or something.
that.
So it's a very, there's not one perfect way. Every psychic medium, every person in this industry has their own way
Yes.
of deciphering the unknown.
Absolutely. I love the way you put that. It is so true. You know, it's really important for trust to be built. So it's important for whoever is coming to me or Dawn to trust us. And so, you know, that develops through a meeting, working with us, and go with your intuition. For anyone listening to this who has ever wanted to have just a reading, whether it's, you know, forensics or otherwise, go with your intuition. Like when you see someone, if you get a good feeling about them, go with them, because it's so much easier to be read by someone who you feel comfortable with, because your kind of guard comes down. And so it becomes a three-way process between you, the medium, and the spirit. And if you're open, it creates this energetic circle like Dawn was talking about, and it's just so much easier. Now,
Yeah.
I was surprised on, I don't know if you were, maybe not, because you have the private investigator background. When we were doing our class, though, I was surprised at just how many ins and outs there are to cases. And, one day we're learning maps and coordinates, and the next day we're trying to use a pendulum with the map, and then we're using sticky notes. Just how many different tools are used on one case.
Yeah, I mean, it's really limitless of what you could actually do.
Yeah.
I think, I use mostly pendulums, because I get myself twisted because I'm a factual girl, like, so I have to be out here. I get myself twisted with the numbers thing because then I'm like, oh, is it 12 or is it 10? Oh, is it, like 8? Where's 8? Oh, I don't know. What does 8 mean? And then I get myself into a hole and I can't like get myself out and, so that I feel sometimes is not my strong point, and I'm willing to admit that. But it doesn't mean that it doesn't happen. But I like to have, I only can give what I get. And that's what having a team is, by using people who use other tools, really works much better.
Absolutely. I love that. But what Dawn does do extremely well is remote viewing.
Yeah,
Dawn
I do.
Yeah. You
So
can
it's like remote viewing, is you can put yourself in a location. Like, so if I want to put myself into, say, Christy's house, I'm walking through the side door and I'm going into the kitchen. I'm feeling like the table's on the left, and the sink and the stove, everything is kind of on the right. And I'm feeling that there's an island kind of in the between. And, so if you walk into that and then you go into the den and you may like do a step up to upstairs. So I put myself in that location.
Yes.
And you start seeing where maybe, the crime may have happened, where it might have happened at the foot of the stairs, or it may have happened right in front of the refrigerator because they had a spat, the domestic violence, they had a spat, and he grabbed the knife out of the butcher block and,
and it's true. So that is what remote viewing is. And now a kind of fun way to do that is I had a girlfriend call me the other day, and she had misplaced this book that she was looking for. And it wasn't just like any book that she was reading. She really needed it for her job. And so she's like, Christy, where did I leave that book? And I said, I don't know. When did you have it last? And so she told me the last time she could remember having it. So I took a step back, I closed my eyes, and I put myself in that energy. And then I walked with her. Like in my mind, I could see her walking through her house. And so I said, it's in this room. And that's where it was. So that's kind of a fun way to use it. We can use it to solve crimes too, but that was kind of fun.
Yeah.
A fun way to use it. So if anyone watching this is looking to have a case worked on, please make sure you're going to someone you trust, and ethics is so important for anyone listening. You want to.
Well, I also think, Christy, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I also think that, interviewing someone ahead of time, and if you have a connection with them, if you really like the way they sound and you feel that, you can trust them, go for it. If they're like hard selling you and, I can find him, I know I can, you know what? Honestly, that would not be the person for me. That would not. I mean, I'm here, or we're both here. The first and foremost thing that we give parents, families, is hope. First and foremost, we are not here to rip your heart any more than it already is.
No. And Dawn, I love the way you put that. You want to make sure, because I know for a fact that Dawn and I and many other mediums I know work from a heart center. We're really here to help. And you can't guarantee that you're going to find the person. You can't guarantee that you're going, I mean, though, that's just impossible to guarantee something like that. If someone is making promises that they're not going to be able to keep, you might want to second guess that. We will try our best. We will try our best.
One of the things that I think is really important to convey is, you know, I will never tell somebody that their loved one is dead unless they really have a body. It's number one, again, give me the facts, Jack.
Right.
My head, I mean, I would be, if somebody did that to me, I would be devastated. Like, first of all, it like made me lose hope, but you just can't do that. Like, we're still pulling it out of the air. We're still human beings. We're trying to make it, you know, we're not supernatural. We're trying to provide information so that the authorities or whomever can honestly make you, you know, honestly try to do their job. Unless a client comes to us to say, you know, yes, I buried my son, you know, and
Right.
this is what happened, then obviously we know that that person, you know, is dead, and we'll be able to discuss freely on what we get as information.
There was a
So,
very, I'm not going to name any names. There was an extremely well-known medium. I think she has passed now, who was working on a case. She had a TV show and all the deal. And she told these parents that their child had passed.
yes,
And years later, they found that child, realized that child had not passed. And can you
yeah,
imagine? I'm just not willing to make that kind of mistake unless I know that I know. I'm
yeah.
not going to say it. You're
Well,
not.
it was kind of her demise, in fact, because
It
but
was,
that was
yeah.
ego. I mean, you know, she had a big ego, so
Yeah.
you just can't say it. I mean, we're human beings, you know, we just can't say it until you actually know. And, you know, again, especially loving, like, you know, I was able to take these gifts and continue to help people with giving them hope and sometimes closure, you know, that closure alone,
Yeah.
Christy,
Yes. Yes.
you know, for someone to leave your Zoom room or your office and, you know, give you a hug to say, oh my gosh, I can go on now. Like, I'm good. Like, I'm so happy. And I feel like we take it to the next level,
Yeah.
whether it be forensics or not. We take it to the next level and say, your son is going to be with you always. He's right there. We're going to teach you. We're going to give you a little teaching of how you can talk to him.
Yes.
Listen,
Yes.
just
Yes.
listen. It's there. You know, that hum in your ear. It's there. You know,
Yes.
feel that little brush on your skin. That's there. You know, that sign, that feather, the penny. Just embrace that. You know,
Before
they
we got
have no more hurt anymore.
before we got on here, I was doing a reading, and this gentleman, his brother had stepped forward from spirit and his grandfather. And I was like, yeah, while I was speaking my light went out. I was like, yeah, your grandfather's taking responsibility for that. He says he messes with the lights in your house. The client said, yes, he does. I said, you know what? Your brother is saying the noisy things. Like, I didn't know what I was talking about, but I knew the spirit was telling me the noisy things. He's responsible for those. And so my client was like, oh my goodness. There was a toy that kept going off in his living room for his grandchild's toy. I was like, oh my goodness.
That
so
is
half the time,
so funny.
Dawn's right. We will say things and we're like the red shoelaces. We don't know why we're being shown this, but someone does. And also, it's so fun because I make the spirits, as I'm sure Dawn does, prove how they're around people. Like, what sign? I don't let my spirits just say, tell them I'm around them. That's too general. If they have to prove how they're around, like the grandfather said, because he messes with the lights, and the brother had messed with the toys, the noisy things.
So my mom, okay, this is what she does with my watch, right? So I have it in a dish next to my bed, and it's like a metal dish. So at night now, okay, I've been putting this watch in the metal dish for like ever, right? So now it'll be a year in January. So I hear at night sometimes clink, 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 clink. And
I
I'm
love
like,
it.
oh my God. I'm like, now my husband's sleeping and I'll wake up and I won't say a word because my husband will really think I'm a nut job. And I'll go like this to her, like give her like the look, like side eye, like, go away. Like you can't do that now at night, you know?
Absolutely. I love that. Yeah. So anyone watching, please talk to your spirits. They can hear. Yeah. It's fun to go to a medium. Outside of the forensics, it's fun to go to a psychic medium and us give you information, but you can just talk to your spirits. They can hear you and then watch for the signs. Now, I do have some fun questions for Dawn.
Uh-oh.
Outside, I know, bite your fingernails. She's like, what the heck is she going to ask me? Okay, so just to get to know you a little bit, what do people misunderstand about you the most?
Oh gosh, Christy. All right. Well, being that I'm from Boston and that I lived in New York and now New Jersey, they categorize me as being tough. Well, I'm really
Yes,
not tough. I'm very straightforward. I'm no nonsense
yes.
for sure,
Mhm.
but I have a big heart and I love very hard and I take care of my friends and strangers. If I see a stranger, I'd be the first one to run to their aid.
That is true. I can attest to all of that. That is true. All right. If you could go back and give your 18-year-old self one piece of advice, what would it be?
Oh my God. Listen to your mother. Your mother was right.
Was she?
Sometimes, I mean, as I grew up, there was times that she was tough. She was definitely tough. But there was times that now that I'm away an adult, that things have come up along the way that, you know what? She was right. She was the one that said, you need to be a leader. You need to don't be a follower, be a leader. She instilled always telling the truth. So I definitely got that from her. She really, they scared the living Jesus out of us, to tell the truth. But there was times that she would say, no, I don't want you to do that. And I did it anyway, and I should never have done it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there was
Yeah.
more, yeah, I mean, she was right. And my mother, I believe, was psychic and a little medium herself.
I would agree. Honestly, I think everyone is. They just
Yeah.
haven't learned to read the energy.
Yeah, she also came from a different generation where it wasn't
It was
accepted.
not, yes,
It was
yes, it wasn't
taboo.
talked about. If you could be remembered for one thing, what would it be?
Oh, if I could be remembered for one thing. Okay, so my mission, I have done my statement in the last 6 months, and I really, really, really feel a calling to this, is that I want to make our work mainstream.
Yes.
I want to make it so that everybody taps into their intuition. It becomes a natural thing. And I do see it in the next generations coming up, but I also wanted, you're never too old. That
Yeah.
that gut feeling that everybody has, like you listen to your gut, that's your intuition's talking. God put it there. That's, source put it there for a reason. We're not using it. Everyone doesn't use it. So that is really what I hope to do. And it's a big task, but I'll do my little part.
Absolutely. I love that when you said you're never too old. I teach classes, and the last angel class I had, every class I've ever taught, I've had at least one 60-something-year-old in there. And I absolutely love it. They're
Yeah,
not taking the class to become a psychic medium, they're taking the class to learn themselves better.
right. I think a lot of people actually want to use it because of their own health reasons or family reasons.
Mhm.
They're just becoming older and wiser.
Okay, now I'm throwing one at you because we have a little bit more time. So let me
Oh,
one more.
oh.
What is the most important lesson you've learned over your career?
Um, A lesson. Integrity. Well, I always lived my life with being truth, honor, and integrity. I am the warrior. Okay, I'm the warrior kind of girl. So my biggest lesson is to trust myself and walk with no fear.
Yes, yes. And I love that. I don't know. She was about to say integrity. I don't know if you went circle back and said it, but Dawn does. She has a ton of integrity.
Thank you.
I've known her for a long time. Would absolutely trust her to always do the right thing.
Thank you.
So, did you have any closing statements for any of our listeners?
I do, if you ask. Okay, so the girl of many hats that I am. So I walk the boardwalk every day here in Spring Lake, New Jersey, and I do this. I see these beach benches with sayings on them, like tributes to their family and members. And so as I was walking one day, I said, "Oh my God, wouldn't it be cool if I could sit at the bench with a family member and do a reading?" Okay, so lo and behold, I have developed Beach Bench Medium, and it's on YouTube. So please, everybody, I would love for you to check that out. And then also too, if you see this podcast, I would love for you to book a reading as well. And I'll offer $25 off if you use the word Christy.
I'll put
Promo
that in the
code.
notes. I will put that in the notes of the podcast. So if you're looking at the verbiage, I will put that in there. Christy for $25 off. Very good. Thank you so much for being here today, Dawn. Thank you.
Thank you, my darling. I love you.
Love you. Thank everyone. I thank you for joining us today and listening. Again, if you want to book with Dawn, in the verbiage will be all of her contact information and the coupon code for $25 off. Thank you. I hope everyone has a wonderfully blessed day.